Heya Cryptozens, it's 10 p.m. Pacific time. My name is Nikodemus, and welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. Heyas, it is Sunday, November 13th, 2022, and welcome to the sad end of the weekend. You know the saying, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? I wonder if that applies to being loved too, especially when it comes to being loved by the crowd. One person who could likely tell you how that feels is one Sam Bankman-Fried. We've seen mythical crypto personalities fall before, Suzu and Do Kwon, and now SBF. And while he doubtless still has his supporters, they seem to be few and far between, at least on crypto Twitter. Washington, D.C., too, is a place that Sam has lost his cachet, his status as a crypto luminary, because even if a miracle occurs, even if FTX is saved, I think he's done in D.C. This is going to be bad for him because he's going to be shunned by the politicians who pretended to befriend him for their own purposes. He'll be an embarrassment to the people who brought him to the inner circle because he will be a reflection on them. So he's probably not going to be going back to the planning meetings, strategy sessions. Alex Allaire is the CEO of the American Blockchain Initiative, and he said, quote, "Unless it's him testifying at an oversight committee, it's over." Which is harsh but true. He's going to be rejected by politicians who used to praise his name in the past. But now that FTX is gone, that $500 million in donations, that doesn't mean all that much anymore, does it? Kathy Yoon is a committee member at Global Blockchain Convergence. She said, quote, "I cannot imagine his actions over the weekend would allow government officials to be able to take his word as an ambassador of the space. I can't imagine his voice will carry any weight going forward." And to be sure, there are some who will welcome Sam's diminished status in the crypto and political arenas. He was still under fire for his support of legislation that we'll get to in a bit. That's the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, or DCCPA. And it's this bill, the DCCPA, that's seen as a DeFi killer. Like I said, we'll get back to that. His actions, however, and that of his company, have tarnished the already diminished reputation of the crypto space. And sure, crypto's always had its share of bad actors, scammers, and thieves. And now, crypto has lost one of its luminaries. Because before that fateful article in CoinDesk, Sam was considered by most to be one of the good guys doing good things. Fabian Astic is the global head of DeFi and digital assets at Moody's. He said, quote, "For many years now, there have been renewed calls for stronger regulation for crypto finance overall. Certainly, this episode will probably add to that pressure." And it doesn't seem to matter that Sam was known to be quite the generous political donor. In 2022, he gave $27 million to his Protect Our Future PAC. That PAC, which supposedly supports politicians working on preventing the next pandemic, that PAC spent millions in donations in Democratic primaries this year. He gave to Senators Stabenow and Boozman. They're authors of the DCCPA, the legislation Sam was shilling on Capitol Hill. But more than just individuals, SBF was also generous with the Democratic National Committee and state Democratic parties across the country. Representative Choi Garcia of Illinois was the first member of Congress to vow to reject that donation. Now, granted, it wasn't much, but Representative Garcia said that the $2,900 that SBF gave him was going to go to charity instead. Rohan Gray is a legal professor at Willamette University. He's been known to speak on the subject of cryptocurrency, as well as giving advice to House Democrats. He said, quote, "A lot of Democrats who had considered that Sam Bankman-Fried was one of the good ones who we could really talk to have a lot of egg on their faces." And that seems kind of appropriate to me. I think the thing most people can't get past is how Sam hurt ordinary retail investors without a lot of money to lose. You know, if he was just running his exchange above board and running Alameda Research above board, and they tanked, that would be one thing. Everybody would say, "Oh, well, crap, that sucks," and move on. He would be able to move on too. Maybe he could come back from that. Maybe he couldn't. But instead, he chose to mishandle client assets, and his actions lost those clients billions of dollars. and that's having immediate effects right now. Crypto's just not looking so good in Congress these days. So this bill that SBF was pushing, and I've seen people describe it as his bill, like it was SBF's bill. I don't know about that, but I do know that the DCCPA was a very controversial thing in some sectors, over fears that DeFi projects would be hurt if this bill was to pass. Designed to hand regulatory power over to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the bill divided the community. There have been accusations that the rules proposed in the bill are too strict, and that the bill mainly benefits incumbent actors in the space like FTX was. Ron Hammond is the government relations director for the Blockchain Association. Speaking on the subject, he said, quote, "No CEO, crypto or not, has been personally lobbying in DC to this extent. This access to policymakers and staff was welcomed. Between his personality and apparent success, the Hill largely liked SBF." Now here's the thing. It doesn't matter how well he was liked, to be honest. He committed a cardinal sin. He was caught hurting the little guy, and you can't be a politician and stand next to somebody like that. So you think that that would be enough to kill the bill. How are you going to move forward with legislation proposed by someone who just injured retail consumers to this level? It looks to me like they're going to just distract. Hammond said, quote, "DCCPA is still not finished yet and likely will be iced out until next year. However, Congress always feels compelled to act during a crisis. That doesn't mean crypto will be an afterthought until 2023. In fact, it is very likely that hearings will be held this month or next on this. Every member will ask what happened and how can we prevent this from happening again." Now, you might wonder how a piece of legislation would have any hope at all at this point. It's got Sam's fingerprints all over it. That kind of thing just doesn't seem to matter, though. Jim Angel is a finance professor at Georgetown, and he said, quote, "Clearly the credibility of the FTX people is now shot. The nice thing about politicians is they generally have no memory." And so it appears that both Debbie Stabenow and John Bozeman are planning on pressing forward with the DCCPA. Ag Committee Chair Stabenow said, quote, "The recent collapse of a major cryptocurrency exchange reinforces the urgent need for greater federal oversight of this industry. Consumers continue to be harmed by the lack of transparency and accountability in this market. It's time for Congress to act." Now, I would say that the time to act was some time ago, and it's not the lack of transparency and accountability that's hurting people, it's the lack of legislation, but that's beside the point. She added that she's still working with Bozeman and regulators to get the bill ready for a committee vote. And Bozeman was right with her. He said that he's committed to seeing the bill advance in the Senate. He put out his own statement, quote, "In light of the developments, we are taking a top-down look to ensure it establishes the necessary safeguards the digital commodities market desperately needs. Chairman Stabenow and I remain committed to advancing a final version of the DCCPA that creates a regulatory framework that allows for international cooperation and gives consumers greater confidence that their investments are safe." And the thing is, this bill does have a lot of support in the crypto world, people who want to see increased clarity around regulation. They're tired of watching money walk away from the crypto space because the rules aren't clear, because people don't feel protected. Either way, you can be sure new legislation is coming in the wake of SBF and FTX's meltdown. Democrat Representative Maxine Waters of California said that there is an urgent need for legislation. But I don't think she's talking about the DCCPA. She said, quote, "Now more than ever, it is clear that there are major consequences when cryptocurrency entities operate without robust federal oversight and protections for customers. This week's news further highlights the urgent need for legislation." We seem to hear that a lot, urgent need. The last several months have seen Waters and her Republican counterpart Patrick McHenry from North Carolina working together to set new rules for stablecoins. This is a separate bill from the DCCPA, and this bill would create a federal framework around stablecoins and would also ban the types of stablecoins that are not backed by external assets. Senator Sherrod Brown, a Democratic senator from Ohio, is also a member of the Senate Banking Committee. And he said, quote, "It is crucial that our financial watchdogs look into what led to FTX's collapse so we can fully understand the misconduct and abuses that took place. I will continue to work with them to hold back bad actors in the crypto markets accountable. So what's the latest on Sam and his merry band of financial miscreants? Well, it appears that Sam, co-founder Gary Wang, and director of engineering Nishad Singh are in the Bahamas and are, quote, under supervision by Bahamian authorities. A source reportedly told Cointelegraph that these three guys, as well as one Caroline Ellison, CEO of Alameda Research, they were all looking to escape to Dubai, presumably because they think that there's no extradition agreement with the United Arab Emirates. Unfortunately for them, that's no longer true. On February 24th of this year, the United States and the UAE signed a mutual legal assistance treaty, specifically to work together against criminals, so they wouldn't have been safe there anyway. According to this source, Sam, Gary, and Nishad are under supervision. They're not going anywhere. Ellison is reportedly in Hong Kong, meaning she might make it to Dubai. I'm not sure that will do her any good. Very likely, if any of them had made it to Dubai, they would have just been sent back on the next flight out. Because make no mistake, the Bahamas is taking this seriously. Their securities regulators have started a criminal investigation, according to a statement put out by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. They said, quote, in light of the collapse of FTX globally and provisional liquidation of FTX Markets Limited, a team of financial investigators from the Financial Crimes Investigation Branch are working closely with the Bahamas Securities Commission to investigate if any criminal misconduct occurred. This comes after reports that FTX claims that Bahamian regulators instructed FTX to start facilitating the withdrawals for residents of the Bahamas. Well, their Securities Commission denied this, saying, quote, the Commission wishes to advise that this has not directed, authorized, or suggested to FTX Markets Limited that prioritization of withdrawals for Bahamian clients. And as if things weren't exciting enough, we've got some good old-fashioned hacking or embezzlement, hard to say which, because on Saturday night, FTX funds were on the move. Over $105 million worth of Ethereum were gathered from various international and U.S. wallets linked to FTX. Almost 84,000 Ethereum showed up in just a couple of hours. And so it happened that on Saturday night, on-chain data showed the movement of the funds. Some people thought it might be part of the bankruptcy process, as Ethereum was coming in from multiple FTX wallets. And so people weren't sure, right? Are they gathering all the funds together, according to the orders of the new guy in charge, John J. Ray? Was this a hack? Was SBF trying to make it all back in one trade? This was confirmed to be a hack, and over $659 million in outflows in 24 hours. According to Nansen, FTX lost $266.3 million. FTX US lost $73.4 million. Overnight, the total net flows out were $659 million. Ryan Miller is FTX US's general counsel, and he confirmed that these were unauthorized transactions. Quote, investigating abnormalities with wallet movements related to consolidation of FTX balances across exchanges. Unclear facts as other movements not clear. We'll share more info as soon as we have it. An admin for FTX's Telegram group confirmed FTX had been hacked. They warned users not to go to the website because of the potential for security vulnerabilities. They wrote, quote, don't go on FTX site as it might download Trojans. And this is where things get really exciting, because users started reporting receiving texts and emails asking them to log in through either the app or the website. Well, they're reportedly corrupted with a Trojan. I can't confirm that. I can only report what other users are saying. I do know that this should not remain a mystery for long. Kraken's chief security officer is Nick Percoco, and he tweeted out that they were aware of the user's identity, but I haven't heard anything more than that. And that's where we're going to leave it off tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. We'll see you tomorrow night.